The Salem Witch Trials was one of the most notorious times in witch history.
It has a dark history that's behind it. They made deals with the devil, with Satan. We're going to blame it on the devil. The devil's tempting you.
They could look all through your head. They were screaming all the while.
Women are more likely to be in cahoots with the devil.
And so the witchcraft craze of Salem, Massachusetts began.
Viewpoints and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And welcome, everyone, to Scarefest Television, the original broadcast date, January 12th, 2024. I have not wrote 2023 on a check yet. But then again, I don't think I've signed a check since last year. So, anyway, I want to welcome everybody. Tonight, we are talking to Pat O'Keefe and Misty O'Connor. And, of course, my co-host is Joanna Hochstetter. Okay, we'll fix that in post. Anyway, now you can see me. Yay. Okay, as I was saying, we're trying to up our game a little bit, and then something, when I hit a button, I would automatically mute, and we didn't want to have to undo that every time. So you'll just get to see extra copies of me and everybody else on my screen. But the important thing is that the two of the three Appalachian witches, which I think is a really shitty name for a group, ladies. I think you could have done better.
Well, we get all our brains through.
Well, Wes, you remembered it, and that's all that matters.
Well, yeah, I'll grant you that.
There you go.
Okay.
Top of mind. 101 marketing. Perfect.
Yeah.
The
You know who we are.
Now, the whole story behind it, though, in full disclosure, my first question was, does your group have a name? And then I pulled up your listing on the con y'all are doing this summer. It's the one in June.
Oh, Haunted America?
Haunted America, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I pulled up your bio. And then I saw one of your books is just called Three Appalachian Witches and whatever. So I said, well, we'll just run with that.
There you go.
It's simple, easy, and
people remember it.
There you go.
Well,
and it's absolute branding. It's who we are.
Right. Like Nike.
fair enough. Okay, now I do want to ask, let's see. Oh, by the way, everybody watching in internet land, if we lose power tonight, we have no backup plan. The wind's blowing and it's, shit happens. So if you lose us, if I disappear, just go to bed. That's all I know. We do have two celebrity announcements tonight. So we're kicking the year off right. One paranormal, one horror star announcement. Now, okay. Since we're doing it this way, I'm just you all just jump in whenever. But first question out of the gate: do you ladies common perception about witches? Do you ladies dance naked in the woods under moonlight?
Do you know there's an old, I gotta say this. There is an old saying in the witchcraft community, and it is that is a popular misconception because many of the earlier books were written by men.
No, I'm positive Ashley does it.
On a good night do we get to do that, Wes?
Yeah, I mean,
No, no,
the
no.
woods, the backyard, bowling alley. No, I'm sorry. I'm not buying that answer completely.
Only on a
See?
good night. Only on a.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just so disappointed she couldn't be here. The now I do want. Okay, now everybody, if you played the home version this week, I tried to share it online. They have a documentary. It's streaming on several channels. I watched it on Tubi. It's called Season of the Witch. Now, how was it working with Nicolas Cage anyway?
Right, movie.
Hilarious. Well, I'm just sorry. I had to wander through a lot of others. Oh, there's another one here. By the way, ladies,
Yes.
there's another movie. A neglected, unhappy suburban housewife gets mixed up in witchcraft with unexpected consequences.
Porn channel.
The I didn't look what it might be streaming on, so you might be right. I've watched the documentary twice, so I hope y'all get like $1 every time that happens.
Somebody does.
It's very well done, and I'm going to say it in relativity. I guess that's the right word, to other witch documentaries, because after I watched yours, then Tubi, of course, recommended like half a dozen others. One of them had basically the crypt keeper narrating it, which was really annoying within 3 minutes. Another one just used every stock Google image that it was ever to. It was actually a lot of information, but too much. But yours actually goes into more the history and everything. The only now here comes the question. The only problem I have with it is because there are so many variations of what we'll call witches or witchcraft. Yep. It's you all in the documentary you talk about, and not just you all, other documentary. Well, this isn't, we don't worship the devil. We don't do this. We don't do that. But the problem is the people that do worship the devil do use that word.
Mm-hmm.
So I realize you guys don't, but I'm just saying we need more words. What's your opinion of that? That's the only thing I can come up with.
Well, when you look at religions in a broader sense, when you think of Christianity, not everyone's a Catholic. Not everybody has the same rituals. Not everybody calls upon the divine spirit in the same way.
Right.
It's all different. I will tell you, it's interesting. I was on a talk show years ago, and it was really interesting. It was me. It was the head of the Satanist church in America, and then it was a vampire. They had the three of us, and it was so strange because instead of going after the Satanists, the vampire went after me. I was the most evil one sitting there. It was really interesting. It was interesting. So all I'm saying or using that as an example is how people do think about the craft and what we do. People.
Well, see, I got into a fight over Satanism, not online, actually, is through another streaming service that I was a member of. But basically, and now even I'm a country bumpkin. I know even Satanism is broken down in parts, and just so happened that was the part. Basically, they're atheists with a really bad attitude. That's how I describe them. But there are others that it's which might be Luciferians, but they still use the word Satanist. In other words, they actually worship that deity, that fallen angel. So the language is so muddled that I know it's got to be hard to set yourselves apart from all the other witches, for just to dumb it down.
Well, those are really. Go ahead. I was going to say those are two really distinct things, different things. But go ahead, Misty.
Well, like Pat was saying, there's so many, it's like a big rainbow of people out here and what they believe and stuff. And you're right, we do need more words to describe what's going on. Most of the time, a witch is somebody who tends to nature or to healing, or she was just termed a witch because it was easier to outcast her. That's the truth. It was probably a woman in the village who took care of people. And when stuff got really deep, they just started pointing the fingers. Now, I have ran across a lot of people, and so has Pat, I think, in our travels, that do worship different deities and different cultures and all kinds of things. And I think the one thing is I never judge anybody, and I don't think Pat ever judges anybody, but we're from the mountains too, honey. And that's the one thing that sets us apart from all the other witches, is because we are Appalachian, and they love to put the word demon and devil in the same thing. And the worst thing you can be in the church is somebody who's against what they believe is the religion, which would be a witch, right? Because they say, hey, this is something you shouldn't be around. So of course they lumped us all together. You're right, we need more words. But most of us are just trying to tend to our people and make sure that they're okay and keeping our culture alive. What were you going to say, Pat?
Um, I really, really want to make a distinction here. The Church of Satan was founded by Anton LaVey in the United States, and their belief system entails in part that it's the will, the personal will. Aleister Crowley, put it succinctly, do as I will, as long as you don't hurt another person. And so it's all about the person, and the person internalizing, if you will, godhood itself. We're, as witches, and most witches, we're not Luciferians. Our God isn't what Christians call the devil or Satan. It may be one of the old gods. It may be someone from Greek mythology that was the god of revelry and wine and all of that. But that is not that, and never was considered to be Satan. In my mind, certainly these are two very distinct.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no argument there.
Paths. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm not even trying to imply any connection. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just that's just one thing that I picked up on, that because I had dealt with those situations, those people. And now before, I'm gonna go ahead and just eat up the whole 50 minutes, and when we come back, Joanna, I'll just give you the whole segment. Okay, the one thing that I always did in the paranormal field, when people would tell me, "Oh, I'm a witch," or "So and so's a witch," or whatever. Now, I honestly didn't make that leap, so I don't want to Satanism or anything like that. But I do make a distinction between family witches and internet witches. That's the term I used. In other words, people that have been raised in this life, in that lifestyle, and then people that saw it on Google and thought it looks really, really cool.
Are the TikTok witches, honey? Oh,
yeah.
Lord. Phew, that is fighting a battle that's ridiculous. The people will look on TikTok to people that they know no history of and be like, that's the one. There's so many discrepancies and so many things going on. I think that it's a double-edged sword. I think it's great that it's becoming more normal to be different than just one path. But on the other side, you're listening to people that are completely bonkers, man. I mean, I'm impressed with some of the stuff they're doing out there. So it's a double-edged sword. Of course, we get out there and get, it opens and horizons and things like that. And then the other way, like, for example, that also attracts people who are a little bit, completely against witches and stuff. Like, I think his name is Pastor Greg down in Tennessee. He's literally went on a witch hunt, and he burns everything that's hotter and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that some of the witches that are like, oh yeah, we learned from this and this, and we took an internet course, and we are on TikTok. They don't understand the struggle of a witch comes from her magic comes from her struggle a lot of the times, and coming down through our lines and keeping especially in the mountains, like the Appalachian Mountains, it was just keeping us alive and thriving. And then you had these, a lot of times, pastors who, preachers who would come after us and have these like witch hunts. They underestimate the anger that people can have and how quickly on a dime it can turn, and then again we will become the target. And that's something that, I mean, I've had people shun me from high school. It was just like, I've been your best friend forever, but now I won't because of the term you choose. And they don't understand that. So I hope that they never run into that. But if you're a witch long enough, you're going to run into some kind of hate. Did you have an opinion on that, Pat? I got to go this way to point at you.
I know it's backwards. No, you're exactly right. The preacher that she's talking about is literally right down the road from both of us.
Yeah.
So we're hoping, no, we're never doxxed. It might be uncomfortable for us, but no, the same way. This comes to us through our roots. I mean, we received, it's so interesting because some people get disappointed because they think that all of the magic that we are supposed to practice are exactly like Granny's magic. But we've taken Granny's magic and we've taken everything else in the world that we've seen that works for us and oscillates, if you will, with our energy, and we use that in our magic. So our magic, just like anything, has evolved over the years. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you can find another way of doing things that might have a little bit of an edge over the old way, then certainly do that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take our commercial break. When we come back, Joanna will be on the spotlight there and talking to these wonderful ladies. Be right back.
Horror. Movie. Fans. 4. Life. On Facebook. Find us. 4 watch parties. 4 news. 4 memes. 4 friends. 4 life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
And welcome back. I'm turning it over to Joanna now.
Thank you, Wes. So, I had my eyes open when I went to college, and I was super interested in world religions. And I took this class, it was witchcraft and heresy. Super awesome class. So what I understood from that was the difference between just, it's just a semester. So I definitely don't have the knowledge you guys do. But so Wicca versus witchcraft. So Wicca is a religion and witchcraft is actually the practice. That's just like the basics. So I was wondering if, there has to be more to it. And I was wondering if you guys could speak about that.
Pat, you want to take this one?
All right. I mean, if we always have to have an understanding of something, and we always try to, get it as narrow as possible, as simple as possible. And so there is that idea that Wicca is certainly a religion and a religious path. Witchcraft is just a craft. And you have to understand that we are the same people that our great grannies were practicing in these mountains. We simply choose to use the word witch. Now, my granny was an old time granny woman. She was an old time granny witch, right? I mean, you healed from what you had around you. All right. And also my granny, she was a midwife and she delivered several babies. She'd go over a mountain with a bag and help somebody have a baby, and then she'd come back home. That's on foot. And that's what she did. That's what we did for each other in these mountains, because let me tell you, our family graveyard, we have to have GPS coordinates to find it. When I tell you that in these mountains, especially I grew up in West Virginia. Those mountains, they're dark and they're powerful, and you need to know your way around them in many, many ways. And I learned an awful lot from my granny, going up in those mountains, where to look for ginseng, where, what time of the year to look for blackberries. I mean, all of that. And then asparagus, you always walked up and down the roads looking for asparagus. So it was magic, though. Think about that. This is what you have to subsist on. And the old ones knew, like, okay, we got some lemon balm and it's free and it's all over the place. And so we're going to cut that lemon balm. We're going to dry it out for the winter. And when somebody has a tummy ache or somebody's got SADS, right, seasonal attitude disorder, it'll brighten them up a little bit. So this is magic. I always say that the mountain magic is practical magic. It's knowing the magic in the land, in the leaves of trees, in bark. There's so many different things that you can do with all of this to heal someone and to feed someone. To the magic in the mountains was surviving, and they did a brilliant job of it. And I'll tell you something else. Their grimoire, their book of shadows, their magic book was the Bible. I mean, Granny would set the Bible up to 23rd Psalms, and they would point it towards the front door. She'd set it on the table, point it towards the front door, and that kept bad people from entering your household. And she did a lot with brooms. She set her broom up, and if the broom fell, then you knew company was coming. But if you had the broom reversed and the broom fell, you didn't want them people in your house because they weren't good people. So there's all of this. And we look at it now, it's magic. Prayer is magic. A spell, words, intent, it's all magic.
It is. That's a really good question about the witchcraft and the Wicca. Everybody believes that if you're a witch, you're a Wiccan, and we aren't. Like Pat was saying, we come from the mountains. Heck, we didn't know anything about that. Half of our ancestors didn't know how to read. My grandma didn't know how to read, so she wouldn't have known that. That was actually a religion, and it is a religion, just as if Christianity and things like that. It was brought over. It's a new relative religion, and it's taught differently. They have different. They have like a creed that they go by and how they do things, and they, sevenfold or threefold and all these things. So there's different things that they learn. There's different, and it's really a beautiful thing. But in our mountains, we were different. So there's so many different witches, like as in, there's a lot of large religions, but you could say you're a witch, and underneath that umbrella, oh my gosh, there is, I don't know how many. We went to Salem, Massachusetts, and we went through the museum, the witches, right? And right at the end, they tell you, okay, in the I think it was 50s, they abolished, because before that, we could get persecuted for being a witch. And then after that, they kind of like lifted that, right? And when they did, they were like, and now all the witches are Wiccans. And I was like, where in the heck is it there? A picture of them up there?
Oh.
Like, no, they're not. No, this. So it's kind of crazy. I was like telling everybody in my group, I was like, no, we're not. Like, so it is a misconception, but it doesn't mean it's not a big thing. They can, the cool thing is when I got into, really coming out, and that took me forever in the broom closet, because again, we're in the South, and here, and like my dad said, you called yourself a healer, not a witch, or you would have get hung. And that's the truth. And they didn't, as long as you were helping the community, they would accept you more than if you stood up and called yourself a witch. You really had to go under a cloak. Pat was talking about her grandmother, of what she did. Our lineage is a wart remover. That's crazy. There is wart witches. There is midwives. There water witches, and these are people that they called on the community and they were okay with, so it's just some of the stuff, but there's so many different ones. The thing that is now with social media, like we were talking about a little bit before, I find that there's like turf wars between witches and stuff, but Appalachian witches seems to be some that are more I guess they're more looked at as I don't want to see a threat, but every holler is different. Everybody learned differently. So there's no box that they could put us in, so it's kind of crazy.
And let me mention one thing too, Misty, building on that. When we talk about the craft, often we equate the type of witch with her primary tools. For instance, we always laugh and say that Ashley is our bone witch because she has an affinity for bones. She can pick up bones. She connects with that energy. She uses that energy in her magical works. And I'm an energy witch. So I don't usually use a lot of tools. I manifest through intent and will and create, if you will, an energy, ball of manifestation. So that's what works for me. And then, Misty, tell me what works for you. What do you do?
I'm a root. I work with roots, just the earth, it's kind of, some people, think that there's not hoodoo in these mountains, but there is, because all different nationalities came to this mountain, they put everybody in the mountains that they didn't want to see again. So if any minority group, most of us are Irish descent, German descent, then we have, Native American in us, and then they threw anybody, yes, Scottish, anybody was not worth anything, and that also included African Americans and things like that. But they brought their culture with them, and when they did, it became a melting pot in these mountains. So I really enjoy root work. I don't use as much. Like Pat says, after you get to a certain time and you put that manifestation in there, you start using less but simple. Me personally, I like to work with anything that's around me. I'm an eye for an eye witch too. We like to, because a lot of us we do bring from the Bible, and that kind of freaks people out. They're like, how can you be a witch and hold a Bible? It's just something that we've had forever in these mountains. That's where we pull from. So it's in the Bible it says an eye for an eye, and that's what kind of caster I am. There's some white lighters, there's some gray, there's some that pull towards the dark, and that's just what I associate with. Yeah.
And the thing is, we're not doing anything different than our great grannies did.
That's right.
And we're doing the same thing. The only difference is they didn't call themselves witches. Now the funny thing is their neighbor over the hill would. There's an old granny witch over there. You might want to go get that ward off. And so they go do that. So yeah, there's a lot of magic. I mean, she mentioned wart witches, and we've got blood stoppers in the mountains that can quote a passage from the Bible and stop blood. In fact, going across to Russia, if you'll remember, the Romanovs, the last czar, we had the mad monk Rasputin, and he was said to be able to lay his hands on Alexa, their son, who had what they called the disease of kings, which was hemophilia, and was able to stop that child from bleeding out. So and my mother was what they call a fire talker. And that's where if you get a really bad burn, they could go. And I saw my mother do this. She'd go and she'd talk and, say some prayers, and she'd do this and breathe in, but not swallow it, and then blow it out. And my little sister, she actually burned herself extremely badly, and she doesn't have one scar today. And I attribute it to my mother's prowess as a fire talker.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. I definitely wanted to clear that misconception up, because like a lot of people like me, we don't see the difference. So I really appreciate you guys, going into detail about that. So, well, speaking of Christianity, in that same class, we learned that early Christians, mainly men, like Catholics, they were called healers, and they practiced witchcraft. Yeah. So why is it demonized now, or so more demonized now?
Well, let's think. Well, no, I always say if you are one of them, then you're a prophet. If you're not one of them, then you're akin to the devil. And what I'm saying by that is, if you're a psychic and you're out there, you're doing readings, you're just being yourself, but you don't belong to a specific church, you're an outsider. You're not a prophet. But if I were in that church and I were giving prophecy for people, I would be considered a prophet of the church. And think about it. If I'm a nun and I'm able to lay my hands on people, then whenever I die, they may make me a saint. But if I'm not with the church and I have the ability to heal, then I'm that crazy old woman at the end of the street. But if you need healing, you go to that witch. You see what I'm saying? So it's often affiliation. And I will tell you something, and this I think speaks more to that than anything. And that is, I know this is old history, but Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc was not burned because she was a witch, which is what we've been told. She was burned because she was a heretic, because here was a woman that could hear the voice of God, and she was able to raise an army and to fight for France's victory. Now think about this. That is a threat, and sorry, Wes, I don't want to get all feminist, but in this case, it is true. It was a threat to the king, because as the French king went through town with Joan of Arc, they were screaming for Joan, not for him. And so he just handed her over to the English. And then they all got to watch her go up in flames, because the English did that. They lit a fire under her because she was a heretic, because she had a gift, because she was considered, to be the other. And also, if you will look at the history of the church, and it's primarily the Catholic Church, because there's a center focus on things like miracles. What are miracles?
Magic.
Magic. It's healing, is it not? That's right. I know. So to me, it's that is one of the clearest, separation by affiliation in the world. Is, do you belong to that particular church? If you do, you'll be a prophet. If not, you're a psychic, and you are like the witch of Endor.
What I think is funny is every time, like, for example, y'all ever seen Practical Magic, where the two aunts and the people of the town come in and they always help them and stuff, and it's on the down low? Y'all best believe that happens. Like, I mean, I had people in my son's school, the mothers would find out and then get in touch with me, and I didn't even know them from Adam. Or one time, there's a location that we would read at, and I had these two clients that I had forever, and they come and they talk to me and, discuss all the things. And one day, these two clients that I didn't know knew each other, grazed past each other because they were both coming to see me. They were like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing here?" And the other one was like, "What are you doing here?" They were cousins, and neither one of them, they came on the lowdown that they were seeing me. Like, I was like, you only meet her in the back. And they still, both my clients never talk about it. Like, it's like they didn't see each other. They were like, never, just keep it separate. It's kind of funny, but it is like, and that makes me feel good, that not that they keep me on the lowdown like a side chick. I don't really like that, but day, like Pat said, the crazy lady down the street, that'd be me, and they'll be like, please help me. So you don't think that some of these people who are church going don't come see us? Well, y'all are very wrong. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and what I do, as like my healings that I do now, well, my cleansings, I call them cleansings rather than healings, and that's the same thing. Like, if you've ever been in Pentecostal church and they lay hands on you and anoint you with oil, there is no difference. They're pulling energy off like we were pulling energy off. But it's kind of funny, though. People don't think that people come to us, but you best be believing. Mouths are closed, though. We're not going to say anything, but we are here to help people, and we do help them in times of distress. I mean, if you can't go to anybody else, who are you going to go to? A lady that nobody think you go to. I actually had a psychic that is in the field, and they actually told me one time, I come to you because I could talk to you. I can't talk to anybody else in my business.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll hold it against me. So she just, they're relaxed around us. They can tell us things. They can, and we got our mouths closed.
Confidentiality is important. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. I worked in higher education. I was an administrator, a college administrator. One what she says is right. I'd have people slipping into my office.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
Don't say
Oh.
That's such a shame though that it's almost like some people see it as taboo. I'm like, come on, guys, you know?
Well, I think what it is, it's downgraded so much that they call it woo-woo stuff, or if you're a psychic or a medium, then you're just a crook and you're trying to take their money. And then don't get me started on Insta shamans. Have you seen Insta shamans? All of a sudden, out of the blue, it was no training.
no training.
Oh my gosh.
I am a shaman. I am like, oh my gosh, do you not realize that is a lifetime path with indigenous peoples usually?
Oh my gosh.
You don't do this through a 2-week online course, and I might be taking hate by some people out there. I really do not care.
I'm
Right.
right. Because it's always a white woman from suburbia. That's all.
Right.
It's always like, shaman, guys.
Look, no, I gotta tell them. Oh my God, we saw one picture of this woman in brown face.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, this woman is whiter than I am, and she's got brown face. She's got a feather in her hair. She's got beads on. She's standing out in the forest somewhere. I was like, just quit. Just
Oh my gosh. That is despicable.
That's
Wow.
funny.
Like,
That's funny.
you'll meet them in this field, and then somehow next time you see them, they are full on shaman. I mean, I got to talk to somebody. Like, how long does this take? I thought it was a lifelong. Like, you had.
I can get on the internet and marry people within like 48 hours. So
I'd love you to marry
all I
somebody.
gotta have is a printer. Okay, we gotta do our commercial break, and then we'll do our announcement. They're getting restless in the chat room. We'll be right back, everybody.
Uh-oh.
Gotcha.
Are you a fan of horror movies, books, comics, music, and collectibles? Roomorg magazine is for you. Subscribe today to receive 6 or 12 print issues annually and join me, executive editor Andrea Subisati, on an ongoing journey through the horror genre of the past, present, and future. Plus, get access to unmissable special editions such as A Century of Witches, 50 Years of Gore Cinema, British horror movies, and so much more. Roomorg, the world's premier horror and culture and entertainment magazine since 1997. Accept no substitute.
We're not beating around the bush this year. Kane Hodder, everybody. Kane Hodder. We never announce him till like July or August just to torture everybody, but he's coming. Yeah, Kane Hodder. Now, of course, Hatchet, the little Friday the 13th thing that he worked on. He was Fallon's bodyguard in Daredevil. I need to go back and watch that movie now. Even though the movie wasn't that great, I have to go see if I can pick Kane Hodder out of that movie. So anyway, everybody, Kane Hodder's coming. So yes, that part of the conversation we can move on to somebody else. Now, coming back to Scarefest, hadn't been in a few years, one of my good friends, one of the few people that I actually say, this guy, I actually know him. I've got his phone number. He called me when my father passed away. Dustin Perry, good friend. I haven't seen him for several years because I got into horror and he does Paracons and I don't do Paracons anymore. So I don't get to see him like I used to. But Dustin Perry, Ghost Hunters International, Ghost Nation, just all over the place in ghost stuff. Reporter Chicks. I got to ask him about that one. I know nothing about Reporter Chicks. But he played himself. And he did a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. It was Dunkin' Donuts, wasn't it?
I don't even.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was one of them donut places. It might have been Krispy Kremes. I don't know. Anyway, Dustin Perry is coming to Scarefest. Our speaker applications are up, and we are getting quite a lot of interest this year. We've already had several applications turned in, despite them only having been up like a week. But speaker applications are online, at scarefestweekend.com. Also, we are taking entries into our Scarefest Horror Film Festival, and I have not done anything about that since last weekend. Oh my God, I'm probably so far behind now. Anyway, Scarefest Horror Film Festival, we are taking entries on that. If you know an independent filmmaker and they do anything in the horror, paranormal, or thriller genres, send them our way. And sci-fi can sneak through. It's really good. Vet CityCon. Vet CityCon is coming up first weekend of March. Myself and Joanna will be there. Maybe some other people, who knows. But Vet CityCon, Hannah Fearman is one of their featured guests. I forget who all else. Butterbean will be there. Paul Taylor. I've never got to meet him in person. So
Now's your chance.
I'm looking forward to that. But that is Vet CityCon, Bowling Green, Kentucky, March. I think it's 2nd and 3rd, first weekend of March. Offbeathorror.com to find out about getting tickets to that. Come and see us. Now, I want to I left this alone. I want to thank everybody. When I asked last week for everybody to go on and follow our TikTok account, you guys rocked it. Within 24 hours, we were well over the 1,000 people we need. Now we just have to figure out how to make it work. But anyway, we are posting regularly, so if you're on TikTok, give us a follow. You'll get the nice little tidbits of like tonight's show, where we call it the best of Scarefest TV. Central Kentucky Mystical Market coming up next. Is it next week?
Yes.
That's a week away. Oh, goody! January 20th and 21st. Clarion Hotel, 1950 Newtown Pike, right off the interstate. Look for us in the Paddock Ballroom, just right off beside the swimming pool behind the front desk. We got signs up. Central Kentucky Mystical Market. I will be there doing really bad tarot. And on my Patreon account, if I get up to 50 subscribers on my Patreon account, I will, for Scarefest this year, I will do the Sleepaway Camp 80s douchebag cosplay, but with the shirt cut off. I did the rest of it, but I forgot my ball glove. I gotta find my ball glove. Anyway, but I will cut my shirt off, my $25 shirt. Go to patreon.com/ScarefestRadio. It's my blog about what it's taking me to come back from, not only come back, but actually try to get healthier than I was before I had my heart attack. And I think I'm doing all right. So, okay, back to the show. Now, just to make myself very, very clear, when I work in the paranormal field, the things that I do in the paranormal field, I qualify by popular definition as a witch. In particular, an energy witch. Because that's what I work with. I work with energy. I can't do anything but warts. Go get Dr. Scholl's free scan. That's the best I can do.
I'll look at it.
But anyway, but I do now. I don't embrace the title because absolutely I've not had any connection to that. But so I do want to. And what you said about prayers, because when I work with energy, I pray.
Yep.
And I manifest, and I'm doing the exact same thing. So yeah.
Right.
So nothing there. Now Now we're going to get more into the gory details. You mentioned, I think, Pat, I think you said it. Some concoction for seasonal affective disorder. SAD. What all kind of potions do you regularly work with?
Well, I mean, that just depends on, the person. I really only do that kind of work for my friends and family because people are so litigious. I can't run it in well, it's true. I can't run it in an apothecary. But now back in the olden days, people would come and they'd say, I got a bellyache. And, I'd get some peppermint together, put a little, if they're kind of constipated, I'd put a little butter in that. See, simple things, a little salt, and and probably some of that lemon balm too, because it tends to calm inflammation. And give them a little of that, and mix it up and hand it to them. So that's the kind of thing that we would do. We'd forage for mushrooms. White willow bark can be used for something. So it would just depend on the person. Now, if you had a real cantankerous man who was just beating the heck out of you every day and Sunday too, you go out there and that beautiful Queen Anne's lace that you see?
Yeah.
Well, hemlock looks just like it. And all you got to do is fix up some tea. So there was some of that too.
No, wait. Okay. Now I got to stop you there because, Queen's Anne lace and hemlock are two very, very different plants. They're look similar.
No. They look similar. That's my point. But
I'm not drinking it made out of Queen Anne's lace either.
Well, that's because you're not up here in these mountains. But if somebody was fixing your dinner and you didn't know what you were drinking, you'd probably just drink it.
We sound so sneaky when we tell people our secrets, don't we?
There was some of that in these mountains. And if somebody was a really, really bad man who was just mean to his wife and kids, nobody's going to say anything. That's the thing. But a woman would have to think twice about really doing her husband in because she needed that man to survive.
Yeah. That's right. We're important.
You are. You absolutely are.
Yeah. My papa used to, one time she got really mad at him and he was drinking with a friend and she actually took his drink when he didn't see it and put something in it, kind of and she thought it to put him down for a little bit. She about killed him. He was I can't put that much in. So these little things like that, that's what we've been doing.
Okay, now just for the record, I did not mean for this episode to become the evidence in anyone's trial. So, we're gonna go ahead and load the commercial. We'll go to that here in just a moment. Now, I will say, I don't know if this is witchcraft or not, but I do. I remember when now my mom came from a tradition of there were healers in the family. My mom was not a healer, but I do remember when I think I was in first grade. I know I was in school. I had diarrhea, and she gave me coffee and put flour in it. Now, I don't know if that's actually medicinal or if it just tastes so bad that your butt squeezes up so tight that nothing's coming out. But I'm just saying that was...
That's so weird because my grandma used to give us coffee with crackers. I'm not joking. I thought that was just something so weird. I've never heard anybody talk about putting flour or anything in their coffee, but my grandma used to do that to me and my uncle because we were about the same age. Yeah. Every day she would give us coffee with crackers. I don't remember having diarrhea. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, do y'all remember being dewormed when you were a kid? They used to remember turpentine, the original turpentine before all these chemicals. Oh yeah.
Oh, they used it for everything.
Okay. Everything. That's what we use, for worms in the mouth.
Yeah. Constipated, diarrhea, just turpentine. It's like the Robitussin of our youth.
Yeah, we got cabbage. Like every time my mom was like, eat your cabbage. It'll get rid of worms and stomach aches. Yeah.
Okay, now we use tobacco.
Oh,
now, I don't know that I ever had worms that had to be given to me. Yeah. Now I did have ringworm one time, and they tried doing the thing with the walnut. Mm-hmm. That was a waste of fucking time. But anyway, I do remember tobacco. Now let's go ahead. Let me do spirit mechanics here. The Missing Element Shop. Spirit Mechanics has a real world brick and mortar store now. The one-stop shop for spirit mechanics, Stephen's Healing Vibrations, metaphysical supplies. They have books, divination, altar supplies, tarot and oracle decks, handmade glassware and spirit boards, vibrational sound healings. They use singing bowls, tuning forks. Incredible bunch of boys. Incredible place. Go visit him. Stephen's Healing Vibrations. Now, this is where he uses vibrational healing, using the sound bowls, using tuning forks. And it does not sound, to the skeptical mind, that it just does not sound like anything that's going... It works, people. I'm telling you, give it a try. If you have muscle aches, I don't even know what all you can do with it. Talk to him. He's at 1018 East New Circle Road. Or look him up online, spiritmechanics.com. Friends of the show, friends of mine. And they will be at the Central Kentucky Mystical Market. Now we've got our little movie review coming up to you from Joe.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis, Bonehead Weekly. I know, wearing the shirt of the concert that I'm going to. You should never do that. It's fashion faux pas. So, Barbara, whom we all know, who's the Scarefest super fan and professional stalker. I'm joking, kind of. Suggested a couple of movies to me. And this one was the first one that I tried. And I'm going back and forth on whether I liked it or didn't like it. And let me break down the reason why, which is probably a good sign. It's not awful, but I think it's just a little too artistic for me. It's called What Keeps You Alive. It's 2018, What Keeps You Alive. It's kind of a horror, kind of crime drama / kind of thing, murderous intrigue. And basically what it's about is that these two ladies, these wife and wife, go out to a cabin in the middle of the woods and they to have a weekend or some time alone. And what happens is that one of them, and this is giving too much away, but this kind of happens in the first act. One of them is trying to kill the other one to make it look like an accident. That happens in the first 30 or 40 minutes. The one wife lives. They have to deal with each other because you can't just go ahead and stab her or shoot her or whatnot. She has to make it look like an accident, otherwise she won't get the money. And it stars two actresses that I really liked, Hannah Emily Anderson and Brittany Allen. They're both in Jigsaw, the film, and directed by someone named Colin Minahan, who also written it. I don't know. What's interesting about this movie is that it's sitting at an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.7 in IMDb. Now, that isn't necessarily one way or the other, but what I find interesting is it's kind of an out of balance. And I'm much more of the IMDb, it's a 5 or a 6 kind of film. The reason is that I just got so aggravated watching it because the one wife is trying to kill the other wife. I get that. And then we find out, not necessarily reasons, but this isn't really maybe the first time she's done it. Maybe it really isn't even for the money, all those things. I get that. That's interesting. It's also interesting that it's two women, and one of them is basically a serial killer. But the other wife, the one who's trying to get away, who's not the killer, makes some of the dumbest decisions that I just don't understand. And maybe it's sexism, and maybe it's because I'm a man and don't understand. I don't understand why she just doesn't stab her here or run away there or scream for these people here. And because they end up getting people killed anyway. I know I'm giving a lot away. This movie is actually on Tubi, so it's free. You can just get on Tubi and watch it. And it's not awful. In fact, I think a lot of you would really enjoy it, just like Barbara did. I really do. I think my problem is I don't understand Jules and Jackie. And Jackie's trying to kill Jules. Empathize with the serial killer? No. But do I understand Jules? Not really, because there's so many times she could have done something better. She could have ended it here. She could have stopped it there. Now, there is the Barbara called a chef's kiss ending at the end of it, and there is a little bit of that. But my problem is once again, this is one of those movies that could have been 35 minutes long, could have cut out a lot of the stupidity, and still got the same point across about it being an interesting story that we've seen several times before about, a couple and one of them wants to kill the other one, only between two ladies this time, which does make the dynamic different. It does. It changes the story a lot, and I do like that part. So I can't say don't watch it. But at the same time, I can't tell you, oh my God, you got to go see this. Feel free to watch this and argue with me. I would really want someone's counter opinion on this. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. What Keeps You Alive, 2018 on Tubi.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. I'm turning it over to Joanna, except I have one more thing. Bee stings. Do you all do the 3 kinds of weeds, or do you all do like a poultice or something?
My grandma did a poultice with dip, snuff. You remember that stuff? And spit. And she would put that right on. That's what we did. What about you, Pat?
Pretty much tobacco, as they call it in the mountains. That was one of the things they do. Another thing they do, they go out and I'm not quite sure what greens Granny got. I wish I did, but she'd go out and get some greens, and she put it in some like if we had any liquor in the house, and she'd leave it just for a minute, and then she'd put it on that, and it helped pull it out. Also, she had any lemon, she'd put that on the greens too, and just use it as a poultice. That's what you do.
My mom's was plantain, clover, and probably more plantain, because like 2 different types of plantain. Okay, Joanne, over to you.
Okay. So deities, do you guys or either of you work with deities?
Oh man, this is a good one. Hit it, Pat. I'll let you go first on this.
Well, like I said, in the mountains, our biggest book of shadows is the Bible. And so it's just in the way that we see God. I see God as an energy source that's through everyone and everything. And it's constantly moving. There's just an energy there. And I also see the human soul as that. That's why they say we have a spark of God, right? Which is our soul. And, which is energy too. What was the question? I have ADHD. You answer it.
Deity. I per se.
Oh, deity, yeah. Go ahead.
You sure you don't want to start off? Because I know you got some that.
Well, yeah. I have one that I really am drawn to, and that is Hecate, or Hecate. Depending the three, yes, which makes sense, right? Because she is the goddess of magic, of crossroads. Some say of the doorway to the other side. Being a medium, that's something that resonates with me, and so yeah, Hecate.
Yeah. Deities are a very it's more than what people think. Like they think, okay, I'm just going to pick that one and that one's mine. A deity, some people don't realize they have to accept you. And if a deity is knocking at your door, most of the time you're going to see representations of them around you. Like, for example, when Pat was saying, we're witches. So she's like the mother of witches, and she's at the crossroads and the dogs and all these kind of things, right? So you'll start seeing these little signs, like her representation is like the keys and stuff. So you'll start seeing like little keys places and stuff. That's letting you know that, hey, they're offering too. There can be people who say, this is my deity, and they can worship that deity and everything. But to get to the full power, it's kind of like marriage. You can say you're married to somebody, but until they say I do, honey, that ain't happening on both parts. That's kind of the same thing. They have to accept you too. In the mountains, if we're working pure Appalachian, like Pat said, we do work with the Bible a lot. So our biggest deity, of course, would be God. But as we evolve and stuff like that, we do find that there's others that call to us. Like for me, when I'm doing mine, really trying to put my feelers out and do my workings and stuff, I petition to whoever's on the other side, my ancestors, my deities, my gods, whoever is there, because I want to help whoever I'm working with the best I can. Sometimes it's all about communicating with their deities too. But if I'm doing workings just for myself, I call on my ancestors more than anything. But I think we all have we understand and honor Hecate because of her being that over. But there's all different type. Gosh, there's so many. And then there can be like old gods, and then there can be like all kinds of things. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to just figure out what makes, you tick and your special connection to the other side. So I think deities are beautiful. I haven't dived in as much as some would. I have people who come to me who, when they pick their deities, they are more powerhouses and stuff. And some would say they would be on the darker side, but it's such a beautiful relationship between that person who picks the deity and not. Like I said, me personally, and in the mountains, we go first from our spiritual side, our biblical side, and then we kind of evolve. You'll see us evolve and honor these other deities.
Okay. So
that was good, Misty.
Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
Yes, I love that. So, how do you guys feel about Lilith?
I like her.
Well, she was Adam's first wife, and of course, she told him to take a hike because he said, "Go get me a sandwich." She said, "Go get your own sandwich." this. So of course, all of a sudden, she was created into a night demon that lands on the beds of unsuspecting men as she sucks the life force out of them. And not only that, but she's the baddest of the bad. She also kills children, supposedly. That's but that's how the church saw her or created her, because she would not bow down to Adam.
Right. If you look into Lilith, okay, first of all, try to talk to a Christian about Lilith.
I've never heard of her.
That's exactly
Most
right.
Christians have not.
Thank
That's
you.
true.
My husband, I said, honey, you knew that, Adam and Eve, it wasn't that. There was actually a little, he was like, no, there's not. I said, let me give you some references. And then there's a few little references, and they don't come to my mind right now, but they've been tucked into the Bible. But if you actually read, some of the stories that are taken out of the Bible, you'll see, oh, wow, this is why this is, and this is why that is. And it all connects back together. I think Lilith was the first woman that's why Eve is made of a part of Adam instead of made equal. Lilith was made equal, and she had her own mind, and he was like, she said no, and that wasn't an option that certain people wanted, so they went back at it again. And of course, Eve was made of a part of Adam, supposedly, right? We weren't there, but it just makes people realize that, whoa, wait a minute, the Bible has been tainted by, no offense, Wes, you're not one of these, but men who wanted to keep power and control. And the best way to do that is to make sure that everybody was controlled. That's why witchcraft really is really scary to the church, because it's not in that box of what's your role, what do you do, how should you be put in your place. It's people stepping out and saying, hey, guess what? I can still be connected to God and my spiritual beings, and I take out the mental man of the church. That's what really, really scares them. I think there was an uptick of witches when COVID happened, because you didn't go to church, right? So they sat there with themselves and they thought, wow, I can still connect to God or the higher being.
No, they sat there on the internet for a year.
And they found TikTok witches.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
We're not
okay.
at any TikTok witches.
Now I will chime. Since you felt it necessary to say, "Oh, not you, Leslie," I will say, okay. Now I'm not saying this is across the board, but with the whole church thing, I don't think you got to. Okay, at least in modern times, you got to. People do have to understand the orthodoxy is not now trying necessarily to hold down women by going after witchcraft. They believe every word of it. Now, I would rather have somebody follow God wrong, as long as they're actually following him, and rather than my own personal interpretation. Personally, I'm a deist. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I think the Bible is a very, very flawed instrument written by people that would have thought digital watches was witchcraft. So, so that's where I fall in. So I'm practically a feminist.
We appreciate that.
Love you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I feel like Lilith is just like this ultimate first, representation of feminism. So
You're not getting
very
any
cool.
damage.
Crazy though, that, I didn't know about her when I was young. I was never taught about her. I was taught about Adam and Eve. That's it. And you stay in your place and you obey. But also, guys, I was in a Pentecostal church when I was little, and we couldn't wear makeup. We couldn't wear jewelry. We couldn't wear, if you haven't went to a truly holiness church that is strong, that is a different life. That is, they really, it's different. And if people choose that route, that is a beautiful thing. But I'm going to tell you, honey, I never fit in, I just, that wasn't in my soul. But a lot of the practices I still honor, like I said, with the oils and the laying hands and things like that, still honor it. I just don't like
I'm going to go ahead and get a plug in for the ladies.
Yeah.
Got the books here.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Got Appalachian Conjuring by Ashley Misty and Rhonda Caudill, and then Appalachian Granny Witch Magic.
Yep.
The book. And they got another one I'd never even heard of. So
it's okay. We're going to write another one.
And another documentary too, right?
Yes, we're
Uh-huh.
working on it. It's there's magic in the mountains. It's
Yeah.
about Appalachian granny witches, and we've been out interviewing a lot of different people, and we're really excited about this. We're hoping to have it out in fall of 2025.
This is a labor of love on Pat. I really got to tell you, we have, listen, this woman, and I'm going to put this out there for everybody. This woman amazes me in her work ethic, y'all, really. And she really does. If Pat doesn't have a project, I think she'll go loony. She really will. She is a workaholic, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Does it
yeah.
as a labor of love. She's went out here and found all these women in these mountains and interviewed all of them. And then luckily me and Ashley was right here and she said, ladies, get on the train. This is what we're doing. And we're honored to be there with her. But she literally wants to make, and from what I could tell, wants to make a beautiful piece to really represent these women in these mountains and their heritage. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Pat, but I really
No.
think that's what it's like. She wants to show people, where we come from, really the authentic part of it,
That's beautiful. Thank you. And it's an honor to work with you and Ashley. You know that. One of the reasons I'm doing this too is I have a little granddaughter, Annalise, and I want her to know what these women were like and what their descendants are like. And these women are just amazing. And I have to give a shout out to a beautiful little girl named Michelle. And she has the most authentic Appalachian voice I've ever heard. And I recorded 5 songs of hers that we'll be using in the documentary. And I'm really excited to share this with people. And I know they are too. They're my producers.
Oh, okay, now one more thing. I'm assuming the bio is correct. Podcast once or twice a month.
Yeah, this is something that we're real excited about, and we hope anybody who's listening will get involved in this. We haven't pushed it as much as we are getting ready to. I think we want to make sure that we were coming. We've done a couple shows so far. It's called the gosh, help me out, Pat.
Around the cauldron. Around the cauldron.
Yes, around the Appalachian cauldron, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
3 witches around the cauldron. That's probably the name.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you remembered it.
So we are really, and it's all about everybody else. It's not about us. It's the cool part. You always have those aunts that you would go to. You're like, we're your Appalachian witchy aunts. And, just like in Practical Magic, they went to the aunts and they were like, what do we do? Blah, blah, blah. That's what we're there for. We can have any question you want. It can be something so simple as, how do I get, this last week, we had a museum question. We'll get to, a lady who said, listen, how am I cheating on me? How do I make his hoo-hoo go, when he's going to cheat on me? That was one of his questions. So we threw out there what our answers would be. It can be something as, simple as how do I handle my mother-in-law, or how do I get a promotion in my job? Or it could be more in depth, like how do I start my spiritual journey? It's all about y'all. What question you got? What question you want?
I got to tell you too, talk about magic. I just got to tell this one story to show the power of magic, practical magic. When I was working at the college, you can imagine, we had a president at the time that was a fundamentalist. I mean, and he found out about me, and I was his right hand. Here was his office. Here was his assistant's office. This was my office, so he could have easy access. Well, I did not want this man near me. I mean, he had thrown me out of every meeting. I mean, I was actually talking to a lawyer and getting my information together. I was going to sue because, of the abuse I was taking at work. Well, I decided I did not want that man back in my office. And I had this tree with all of the eyes, right? The protective eyes. And I hung it at the end of the desk after doing my little spell on it. And I said, never enter this office again, because every morning he'd come right over and sit there, and I'd have to stare at this man who hated my guts for about 20 minutes in the morning. Do you know that man never crossed my doorstep again? He would come to the door and stand there, but he never came in my office. It was like a force field was up. So let me tell you something, magic works. And and I know she does too, dozens of examples, but that was only one of them.
So we're here to share that. That's what our podcast is about.
There
We're
you go.
looking at more, even if you don't see us out on the road, because whether you know it or not, me, Pat, and Ashley, gosh, we are on the road quite a bit. We go to a lot of conventions. We go to this beautiful Scarefest convention, but we do a lot of them. And when we do, a lot of times we get to do great things there. But sometimes if you don't get to see us, at least you can talk to us and see our advice and stuff like that. Twice a month, the first of the month, and then the first of the month, and then the third of the month, right? Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock.
And we at night, midnight.
Yeah.
And here's what's interesting too is we are like the Ann Landers or the Dear Abby of the witchy set. So we give that kind of advice only with a witchy slant to it.
Yeah. And sometimes it gets crazy, especially with that last question they asked us. And then sometimes they're really easy and they're just like, how do I get started on my journey? So we're not afraid to get in there and get the juicy parts of it. We're excited about that.
Well, unfortunately, if it comes on at midnight, I will never catch it live.
Oh,
Just
we
never.
do that. I tell you.
So, okay, let's show them next week's guest. Well, there you go. All right, sorry about that. Little production error there. Next week, we're talking to Mark Muncie and Erica Lance, talking about holler monsters of Kentucky. I booked it this because I love the word holler. But they do a podcast,
cool.
Eerie Travels, Holler Monsters of Kentucky. Dying to find out what they know about that. Chad Harlan will be on with me. Back to all of us. So everybody, of course, follow them on Facebook, I guess, to find their podcast, because I had no clue, not a clue that you all were doing that. So yeah, be more proactive on social media.
I think that's what we need.
Hey, Wes, can I mention one thing before we go?
Of course.
Our next book, the title of it is Magic from the Mountains and Beyond, and it's Moon Magic, Mirror Magic, and the Witch's Ladder by 3 Appalachian witches.
When's it out?
That's going to be in the spring sometime.
Yes.
This spring, okay. So we'll be able to get another book at Scarefest.
Oh, yes, yes.
And now it's something I've started doing, everybody, on the Scarefest Radio website, scarefestradio.com. If you go to the front page of that and look over in the right-hand column, now if you're on a phone, you got to scroll down because phones suck. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, I actually have links to their books, so you can find the ones that I have.
Thank you.
Now, I didn't link everything, but I linked the 2 of them. And because I knew about those until I did the bio tonight, I had no idea about the other one. Anyway, thank you, ladies, for coming on. Tell Ashley I missed her so much and had like 3 other dirty jokes to tell about her.
I'm gonna tell her she is so missed, and I'm disappointed she didn't show up so we could hear them dirty jokes.
Absolutely. So everybody, we will see you next week on Scarefest TV with more celebrity announcements.
Thank you all.